Alien vs. Predator. These are two franchises that seemed almost like they were made for this concept alone. This concept was destined for success, and success it had. But not in this case, and that's disappointing. Hey everyone, Jarek here. Today we're going to be talking about Alien vs. Predator 2010. I'll refer to it as AVP3 because that's easier to say. When this game came out 10 years ago, I actually found it to be a lot of fun, but no one else really seemed to care too much. It had the unfortunate situation of needing to follow up off AVP2, which is considered a classic, and those are some big shoes to fill. Its reviews were average and most people seemed rather indifferent about it. It didn't fail, so to say, but it did fail to leave some sort of a big impression on the video game market. It just kind of existed and then phased away. It's not one of the best games of all time, but it's definitely a good game that does the Aliens franchise proud, and it's worth picking up. Since this game's structure is a bit different from other games, I'm going to cover it in a slightly different way. I'm going to cover every campaign separately, then move on to the multiplayer. There are 3 campaigns, and this game does want you to play them in a specific order, but you can play them in any order you want. Just note that the way they're listed at the main menu is the order the game wants you to play them in. Marine first, then Alien, then Predator. Let's start with the Marine campaign. The Marine campaign begins with the Marines being split into 2 different ships when you're answering a distress signal. A Predator ship shows up unannounced and takes the other ship down. Your squad gets on escape pods and goes down to the planet from where you heard the distress signal to begin with, and this is where you get to notice how good this game looks. This is one of the things I distinctly remember when this game first came out. It was one of the first games to properly use DirectX 11, and it showed it. Think about what other shooters came out this year. Call of Duty Black Ops, BioShock 2, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Halo Reach. Really the only game that blows this one out of the water graphically was Metro 2033. But there was more than just these new fancy DirectX 11 techniques. Sure, you could talk about tessellation all you wanted to. Sure, they had tech demos showing this off, and it is impressive for 2010, but none of this matters if the aesthetic didn't hold the game up. This is an Alien game, and it needs to hold up to its subject material. Thankfully, this game does this incredibly well. You'll be walking down dimly lit metallic corridors. Hallways will be taken over by the infestation, the subtle padding of the radar constantly going off, and of course the iconic sound effects of the pulse rifles and the xenomorphs themselves. When you're playing as a Marine, it honestly feels more like you're playing a game that's supposed to be just based off aliens rather than anything involving Predator. The Predator shows up twice in the entire campaign. One time is him just popping up saying, "Hey look, I exist." Nothing happens, but you get to look at him. And the other time you actually get to fight him. But to be honest, he's incredibly underwhelming and you can just gun him down. So if you're looking forward to the Predator aspect, you're probably going to be rather disappointed. However, if you really like Aliens, this Marine campaign is going to keep you very happy. It nailed the atmosphere. And the plot is what you would expect out of an Aliens plot. You're stranded on a planet with a xenomorph infestation. You're there for just another bug hunt, and everything goes foobar. Your objectives slowly change throughout the campaign, but for the most part, you're just trying to survive and escape. Of course, though, it wouldn't have anything to do with aliens if Weyland-Yutani wasn't involved. The Predator isn't the true antagonist of this campaign, it's Weyland-Yutani. You're going to naturally run into him, as the only way off this planet is through a tablet in his hands. As it turns out, you're really going to need that tablet, as one of your squad mates, the only other one alive, the only other one left, ends up with a parasite. I could talk about spoilers for a 10-year-old game, but I won't. If you want to play this game, I'll go let you figure out the endings on your own. But do know that these campaigns all do intersect. I almost forgot to talk about the combat. The combat for this campaign is about what you would expect. You're one Marine being overrun by aliens. You have iconic weapons like the pulse rifle and the flamethrower, along with some other ones that are pretty unique and fun to use, like a double-barrel pump-action shotgun where you can fire one barrel or both at the same time, or a battle rifle that is hilariously overpowered. This thing one-shots any of the base aliens. But the most badass weapon of them all is the smart gun. This thing is a literal aimbot, and it is so satisfying to use. As far as this is concerned, I don't have much more to say. The game nailed the aesthetic, and it nailed the weapons. But that would get rather boring if that's all it was, so to keep things interesting, you have to fight Praetorians and androids. The androids are a little less fun to fight. Headshots don't do anything, you just shoot their head off and they keep shooting at you, so you have to focus on their limbs, and they're rather bullet spongy. On harder difficulties, they're a pain in the ass. On normal, they won't really be that much of a pain, they're just kind of there. To be honest, I never really wanted to fight them. I preferred to fight the aliens. The gunplay is pretty standard. Left click to fire the gun normally, right click to do the split function like fire a grenade out of the pulse rifle or fire both barrels of the shotgun. But the more interesting mechanics they added in have to do with the melee combat. This game sort of has rock, paper, scissors added in between gun, melee, and block. If an alien is doing a light attack at you, you can just block their attack and then knock them over. If they're doing a heavy attack, you can just interrupt them by meleeing them. If they're at range, you can just shoot them. This does unfortunately take a good amount of tension out of the game because pretty much no matter what melee attack they're doing, you can either block or interrupt. Even though their heavy attack does just kind of kill you, it's so telepath that you really shouldn't be getting hit by it. This means the only real tense moments are when you're getting completely overrun. Regardless, the atmosphere is so good and I still found the combat to be enjoyable, so I can't complain too much. You do have to be careful up close. If you shoot an alien too close to you, you will take damage from their acid. If they're touching you, you'll pretty much just die. And that's not even mentioning what the flamethrower does. Your flamethrower essentially turns these xenomorphs into a flailing bomb. They won't run after you anymore, but they'll be flailing around randomly on the floor. Eventually they'll blow up, or you can just shoot them to set them off. It's a useful gun, but it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So there's the Marine campaign. Even though it's very standard for a first-person shooter, I find that it sticks to the aliens' aesthetics so incredibly well, and it's so truthful to the subject material, I can't help but really enjoy it. Next up is the Alien campaign. This one, just by concept alone, is incredibly interesting. Who doesn't want to play as an alien? As it turns out, Weyland-Yutani was doing experiments on the aliens on this planet. No big surprise. They were using workers in truly humane situations by impregnating them with the parasites. You play as one of these parasites that immediately tries to get away the moment it bursts out of someone's chest. They take notice, think you are of an abnormally high intelligence for an alien, and during an experiment gone wrong, you find time to escape. Also along the way, you let loose all of the other aliens in the facility. From here, you're kind of just listening to the Queen, murdering humans and harvesting them as you need. This eventually leads up to a fight between the Predators. Much like the human campaign, the Predators are just kind of there and you're mostly fighting humans. You eventually will fight 3 different Predators in one fight, but that's it. At the end of this fight, you will harvest an elite Predator, which will become important later. Not long after, you will randomly go into hibernation. This is due to the Marine killing your Queen, as you did in the Marine campaign. As I said, the things you do in one campaign do affect the other campaigns, which is quite interesting. You are picked up by Weyland-Yutani, who sees you as interesting, obviously, sparing you since you're already in hibernation. However, on the ship flight out, you murder everyone, escape, and eventually turn into a Praetorian, revealing that Six was going to be the next queen. So I guess they were correct in saying you were smarter than most aliens. Okay, interesting, but how's the gameplay? Well, disorienting. This is going to take some while to get used to. This game is fast and you are climbing on walls. Every time you climb onto a wall, it changes your view. It can't just keep you looking in the same direction, it drags you whatever way you're going up that wall. This will get confusing, and if you're someone that gets motion sick easy from video games, don't bother trying to play this. I thankfully am not one of those people. I don't even want to begin imagining playing this in VR. Anyway, the combat is a lot of expected stealth. The melee system is still in place, but from the other side. They can block your light attacks, but they can't block your heavy attacks. But they also have a gun, so just running straight at them is probably not the best option. Your best option is to hide in the shadows, using your tail to poke out lights, stabbing them to knock them over, and then grabbing them to kill them. Your character is very fast, and you can run away as you see fit. Also, I just need to point out that the assassination animations are fucking amazing. They're just so violent, and this game can get away with it because they're fucking aliens. Of course they're violent. I love this way more than I should. Predator campaign. A lot of people think this is their favorite. It's not personally mine, but I can see where they're coming from, just because the concept of playing as a predator is also awesome. The predators get a distress call coming from this planet. You find fallen predators on this planet, set their bracers to self-destruct, and take human heads as trophies for desecrating your sacred grounds. You'll then set a self-destruct sequence for these ancient ruins for reasons I still don't quite understand, and get ready to leave. This is where you fight the Pred alien that you caused by harvesting the elite predator back when you were playing as a Xeno. You see, the other 2 campaigns' main climax was the battle with the predator. However, here you are a predator, so you can't fight a predator, so instead you fight a Pred alien. You kill it and then you leave the planet. One of the artifacts you got shows where the alien homeworld is, and you start heading that direction. And that's the ending of the Predator story. Unfortunately, the gameplay of the Predator missions are the most flawed I feel out of any of the campaigns, which is a shame because he has the most tools out of any of them. For starters, you have an infinite cloak that only goes away the moment you attack or step into water. It doesn't use any energy, you can use it as long as you want. Your movement options are quite great, able to jump nearly anywhere you want to. The same combat system applies to the Predator, where light attacks will stop a heavy attack and heavy attacks will break someone blocking. And you also have those fucking brutal assassination animations.
He just pulled his skull out of his stomach.
Again, I love these. My only complaint is that I wish there were more of them. However, where the Predator gets interesting are all his extra abilities. You of course have your shoulder-mounted laser. You can charge this up if you really want to. This will cost you energy. Unfortunately, your energy doesn't recharge. You need to go out of your way to find these batteries to charge up your energy, resulting in you not really using this because you don't want to waste energy or just because you'll run out quickly. Eventually you'll find a mine, which is a little more useful just because it's more practical to put a mine down on the ground. I mean, these are aliens that are just bum rushing you, so why not? But the last two weapons you get are utterly broken. The first one is a spinning bladed disc. It acts like a boomerang, except for you can control where it goes with the laser on your shoulder. Using that in combination with the combi stick that you eventually get makes a Predator incredibly overpowered. These are not tied to your energy and they do not decloak you when you throw them. This stick also one-shots almost anything in the game. So once you get it, you have no reason not to just spam this and not bother with anything else. I feel like this should have a lot slower of a recharge and also decloak you when you throw it because it's just really broken. But that's about it. All three of those campaigns will take you around 6 to 7 hours to complete, which is funny because I remember this game being short and so does seemingly everyone else. I think it's because having 3 different campaigns that are all short in their own right makes the whole game feel short, when in all reality it's about average length. If I had to put my personal favorites in order, I'd have to say my favorite is the Marine campaign, then the Alien campaign, and then the Predator campaign in last. I know it's probably not a popular opinion, a lot of people really like the Predator campaign, but it just has way too many problems for me and makes you feel too overpowered to really be that fun. Plus, I really enjoyed playing as both a Marine and an Alien. Maybe it's my own bias coming out, I tend to like Aliens more than Predator anyway, so who knows. But that leaves the multiplayer, which is unfortunately dead on PC, so I can't play it today. But it was an interesting concept having a multiplayer with 3 different factions. I'm sure someone else has made videos on this before, but what people never really seem to talk about is the survival mode. I put way more time than I thought I was going to into the survival mode. The footage you're seeing here is pretty old footage. I used to play this a lot back in the day. It's, well, really simple to be honest. You only play as a Marine and you only fight aliens. It's a horde mode where every single wave more aliens fight you, and eventually you'll be fighting stronger enemies like Praetorians. There's a bunch of different maps you can choose from. Every map has different weapons on it. Some may have a shotgun, some may have a flamethrower, some may have the battle rifle. But still, the combat was strong enough to make this way more addictive than it should have been. I mean, it's co-op PvE versus aliens, so of course it's fun. Even Colonial Marines managed to make a game mode like this that was somewhat fun. That's the only time you're ever gonna hear me talk about Colonial Marines in a positive way ever again. So there you go, that's AVP 3. Before I tell you my final conclusions, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. This really helps my channel stay in YouTube's algorithm. Right now I'm floating at around 66% of people that watch my videos don't subscribe. Let's see if we can get that number down below. Thank all you guys for watching, and let's talk about what I really think about this game. Well, it's fun. I mean, like I said before, this game isn't necessarily the best game in the world. It kind of is somewhat average, however it uses its subject material so well that I can't help but just enjoy it and feel that it was a little underrated. Maybe underrated isn't the correct word. I feel like it was reviewed fairly accurately. I guess underappreciated would be a better word for it. It definitely enjoys your time, especially nowadays when it's a lot cheaper. It's a game I've been wanting to make videos of for a very long time, just because I had more fun with it than I ever expected to. So if you're looking at it, be sure to give it a go. Thank you to everyone that joined me over on my Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time and get your own secret special channel on my Discord. Thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.